There are 100 problems that you could solve today in your company. There's always something broken or always something that can be better. You have to think about what is the right problem to solve, not just the immediate one that's in your face. The simplest answer is it making me more money? This is our entire empire today. How do we stay organized and do all the things that we can do? I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I'm more like a point guard. I'm helping other people win and getting them to share their knowledge in the meeting as opposed to me just always talking at them. Once the team understands that you have their best interest in mind, it's a lot easier for you to now come in and course correct because they know like, oh, this isn't a personal thing. The metrics that I always recommend people to track: cost per lead, cost per contact, then cost per contract, and cost per deal. The numbers matter, but it's really about how you interact with the people to help them be more effective. That is really what the majority of my job is. Knowing that there are problems, but working with the people to help them be effective in solving them. So we're gonna keep it rolling with the next speaker, me. So you guys had obviously Ryan's presentation and day in life of the COO, I'm the CEO, and now it's my turn to kind of break down what I do every single day to make sure that the vision gets done. And I know a lot of you guys are at a point in your business journey where you're kind of probably both people, right? So you got to think about, how can I be both the visionary and the integrator? So hopefully some of the things that you guys can take from this presentation, you can apply to your own business, your own life, etc. Right? So let's jump into it. A lot of you guys already know who I am, but I'll do this really quick. COO here at Pinatico. Prior to that was in the tech and startup industry for about 8 years, mostly on the sales side, so building out sales teams. Started off as a sales rep and then kind of worked my way up from there. I then invested in the All-Star program in 2020. Got my first deal within 6 weeks. Took 3 weeks to absorb as much information as possible. Then took the next 3 weeks, took a bunch of action. Obviously, you guys are all action takers already. All the All-Stars, they get it. During that time, I was still full-time at my W-2. Worked for the second fastest growing company to go from $0 to $100 million in recurring revenue. And then from there, I joined Ryan as his sales manager in 2022. Worked my way up. As the business grew, I grew into the COO seat. So along with that, I'm going to be a dad in February. So that's going to be fun. And then obviously, follower of God, that's me, my wife, and then Ryan's wife, Mindy, baptizing. And then she was pregnant at that time, too, which I think is cool. She got a little double dip. But where our businesses are at today, obviously, we have the Wealthy University, Lead Kitchen, which is kind of merged into the whole wealthy ecosystem as well. Pineda Capital, we have about 550 rental units. Wealthy Kingdom, which everybody should be a part of. If you're a Christian entrepreneur, it's free. And then the thing that started it all, Home Run Offer. Obviously, this is our entire empire today. So how do we stay organized and do all the things that we can do? So let's break down my week and kind of the key things that I focus on. And it's as far as number one, it's the daily morning routine. I know Ryan's talked about it. Dave Meltzer talked about it. A lot of people, and because it is extremely important. So it's the main thought here, and I mentioned this earlier, is I spend so much time pouring into people. Ryan spends so much time pouring into people, as you guys as leaders are going to spend time pouring into people, so you have to fill your cup up first. So I'm usually up right around 5:15, coffee, supplements, protein shake, whatever. I read the Bible, pray, spend about an hour with God every single day. Sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer, but that's my non-negotiable. And then gym, and I'm here by right around 8:15, 8:30. Usually I'm either listening to sales calls or just kind of prepping, getting everything that I need done for the day. Next is our meeting schedule. So Ryan kind of broke it down. I'm going to share it kind of from my perspective and what we end up doing. But we do our company meeting. Ryan speaks a lot during that time. Usually he's late. He doesn't say that part. So I have to kind of do what I do with you guys for 5 minutes and kind of chat. I'm the one who's asking who people are grateful for and all that. then Ryan just pops in and starts chatting. Then from 9:15 to 9:30, we're with HRO. So that's with everybody, the entire company. So Ryan's part of that meeting, and then I jump and I go over and we work just with the sales team. I'm still kind of acting as sales manager, and I'll get to that in the part of the sales presentation. But Ryan mentioned it, and I think it was super important. the things that you do the best in your organization, you should always continue to do in your organization, right? I'm the best recruiter. I'm the best sales manager. So those are the things that I do and I stay in control of throughout the entire company. Then, like I mentioned, more sales stuff. So from 9:30 to 10, I am doing our wealthy investor sales meeting. So meeting with all the people who got you guys here, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Then we have our marketing, and what Ryan didn't mention is we've changed this to our operations meeting as well. One thing that we would run into as you guys grow within your company, things get siloed very, very easily, where you and maybe 2-3 people make a decision, but the rest of the company is going to be behind the ball. So what we focus on in this meeting are all the tasks that we need to do across the company. And obviously, as you guys know, we're always adding, changing, subtracting things from our education. So you can imagine what it looks like for our team. If Ryan makes a decision and Ryan and I make a decision and then we implement with our sales team, but then our support team doesn't know what we did, or the sweet deals that we cut you guys or whatever, then we have to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So as we continue to grow and scale, that's been super important for us. And then we have our kingdom meeting and additional meeting schedule as we break it down here. So I meet with the sales team at HRO, Home Run Offer, daily. So it's super important for us to make sure that they are doing the things that they need to do. And it is boring and it is repetitive. I forgot exactly how Dave said it, but basically, if you just have to you have to love doing the boring stuff. You have to love, even though I hate sales training. Personally, I think it's the same thing every time. I have to listen to a phone call, go through the same things, I have to repeat the same things to the person, but it's so important and it's pivotal. So then I also, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I meet with our wealthy investor sales team. They're pretty dialed at this point, so I just kind of go through the KPIs, double check, and then I do our wealthy you coaching call, and then I do a meeting with Monty, our COO over at Home Run Offer, once a week. And I do a finance call with our CFO, Noelle, Ryan's sister. We do that weekly as well, just to review the KPIs, numbers, et cetera. Right? And then I use a tool called AI, Plod. Basically what it does is it records the entire meeting, and it'll summarize it. And then it'll even give action steps at this point. It's pretty crazy. So it's a little piece of plastic that I just basically bring into every single meeting that I do, every phone call, and it records it, organizes it, gives you action steps, and it's pretty impressive. I think it's like $100 for the year, so nothing crazy. And it's really, really helped because even though I'm more organized than Ryan, I'm not that organized. So this helps out quite a bit with just making sure that I don't forget anything that we covered within that meeting. And I thought of this yesterday with Daniel. We did a little podcast, so I added it. The way I think about myself in these meetings, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I'm more like a point guard, for those of you guys who understand basketball. I'm dishing off, and I'm helping other people win and getting them to share their knowledge in the meeting, as opposed to me just always talking at them. Yes, there are situations where I need to be sharing information, but the best meetings that I've seen are where I can get the other people to give me their feedback because they're in the day-to-day. Additionally, I do have really, really good salespeople up there. I think I'm the best sales leader, but I'm pretty good at sales. But I think we have some better salespeople upstairs that I want to extract their information from. So when you're running these meetings, you have to ask pointed questions to make sure that you are getting and extracting as much information from them that the team could benefit from. That's really what I focus on during these meetings. So it's not even just the fact that I'm doing the meetings, it's what I'm doing within the meeting, if that makes sense, right? So I'm asking pointed questions. I am going in with an agenda, and that's why I have that extra 30, 45 minutes ahead of my day to plan for everything else that I'm going to go through in those meetings. So this is just a sample workflow that you guys can steal to make it easy for you guys. So huddles with the team. I'll click through it, so then I'll let you guys screenshot. Oh, let's go back. Boom. So this is basically what I would probably recommend for anybody as you guys grow and scale. It's like you do your daily huddles. You meet with the CEO, or as the CEO, you're going to meet with your team. KPI review your budget, and then the department team, etc. So this is what just to keep it very simple, this is what my Monday would look like if I were you guys, as you guys grow and scale. So next thing that I do is our sales oversight and tracking. Like I said, sales is the lifeblood of your business, right? You got to set clear metrics, clear targets, or otherwise you're going to fail. And like I mentioned, no one else is better at it than me, so I'm stuck with the sales management piece. So what that looks like is I'm reviewing my lead flow daily. The core metrics that we really track, and I'm going to show you my dashboard in a little bit, but it's cost per lead, leads per salesperson, daily revenue, closed deals, et cetera, right? So it's just how many leads came in, what did that cost us, are they making it to my team, is each person getting enough leads to be able to close the deals that we want to close, and did we actually do it, right? And the way we look at it, because we have our tracking set up for pretty effectively, if somebody is underperforming for more than 3 days, at that point that's when I step in to figure out what's going on, how can we fix it, and course correct essentially. But most people, what ends up happening is it goes a week, a month, and then you're like, whoa, you were like 50% of your target or whatever, and that's too late. You wasted leads, you wasted money, you wasted time. So if you know your numbers and things are out of whack for 3 days, that's when you got to step in and start course correcting. And this is really important because all you guys are going to be busy. I'm super busy. And for efficiency, as far as training goes for the sales team or for any team really, like I use those meetings, so I don't listen to every single salesperson's call like throughout the week. I pick one person, we review it all together just to be super efficient, and that way I don't have to like give. In a perfect world, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit, in a perfect world, I would have a sales manager that can listen to every person's calls, can meet with each individual salesperson once a week, go over targets, go over metrics, but we're just not at a place where I think it's necessary. So in order for me to be efficient with my time, I just do I do the group calls, I alternate through people's calls, and that way everybody gets the same level of coaching at one time. And then one thing with me, like I talked about this a little bit later in the presentation, but I'm pretty even keeled guy. Like I'm not gonna yell at you for underperforming, and I think that's really helped out with our team. Where it's like, dude, I'm just focused on the solution. Hey, you're underperforming. Let's figure out how we can get you there. And this also comes with culture, where once the team understands that you have their best interest in mind, it's a lot easier for you to now come in and course correct because they know like, oh, like this isn't a personal thing. Like, Javi isn't just coming at me because he doesn't like me. Like, we've already established Javi likes me. Now, Javi wants me to succeed. How do we go do that? So, dashboards and tracking. I have one place for everything. So, you should have one dashboard that everybody has access to. The different ones that we use on a daily basis, like Ryan has his own dashboard. Each sales team has their own dashboard, and I have my dashboard as well. I'm cross-checking this data, though, because things break. For those of you guys who have ran Facebook ads in the past, there's always like a slight discrepancy between how many ads came from Facebook and how many leads from Facebook actually made into your CRM, vice versa. How many deals close? There's human error as well in your CRM once you guys get big enough, right? So a salesperson might key something in incorrectly. I got to go check our actual cash in the bank and our Stripe account to make sure that we actually made the money that we did, right? So you got to have at least 3 different sources of truth in order to verify the information that comes in, if that makes sense. Right, and then we have our clear scoreboards. You guys have seen them. So this is our HRO scoreboard. I screenshotted this on Tuesday, I believe. So yeah, we crushed contracts. So our goal is 5 contracts a week at least. So for the month, we're at 11. Nothing closed, but we have about $195K in closed revenue that should close this month, meaning it's assigned, it's going to escrow. We're just waiting for our cash to come in the bank. Kayla hasn't dispoed anything yet, so we just got these contracts for the month, so it's her job to now go and assign these deals. And then I have my sales team stats. So each salesperson, one thing that we did with the sales team is we give them an extra 2% every time they hit their KPI of 2 contracts. So each week, the sales team is incentivized to go out and get their 2 contracts because they'll know that 2 and above, they're going to get an extra 2% revenue commission bonus on those deals. So salespeople are always money motivated. So how can you implement different things? Like if your quota is one contract a week or whatever it might be, like how can you incentivize them to go out and do the extra mile? Cool. And then this is our wealthy investor sales dashboard. So slightly different, but I have like my top salespeople over there, their activity metrics. These are our appointment setters. And then this is kind of like the whole breakdown of our, like the dashboard that they see. So this is the sales team. They can see it all and see it all broken down. And lastly, this is my personal dashboard that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at how much does it cost to get a sale. This is obviously on the education side. What's our revenue? So basically, it costs us $473 to get a sale. On average, we're making $2,500 per sale. And then this is for the sales team specifically, the different types of leads, different funnels that we have, new cash in the bank, and then my sales team, and then book calls and all this stuff. So it's quite a bit, and we're always adding more, but I'll pause. Any questions so far? Yep.
So is that side, so this is only home run offer?
So this is for the education piece. I'll go back to home run offer. This is our home run offer dashboard. Then I do have a separate one where I'm tracking lead flow for home run offer. It does look very similar to this one, where I'm seeing the leads that are coming in from each specific funnel, right? So my home run offer dashboard is very similar, where I'm seeing cost per lead right here, and then I'm seeing cost per contract. So I have the three metrics that I always recommend people to track. Cost per lead, cost per contact. So there's actually four. So how much does it cost to get somebody on the phone? Then cost per contract and cost per deal. So my dashboard has all of those numbers in. Also how many leads came in and how many leads went to each individual salesperson. And then when I see my dashboard, I go in and verify with the team to make sure that what I see, they're actually seeing in their CRM. And they're seeing the leads making their way through. Because sometimes things break, whatever, to keep a track of everything. So this is Plecto. That's the software that we're using for a lot of you guys. And I think I have this later in the presentation. The best tool is the one that you use, right? Like I don't care if you're using a Google Sheet. I don't care if you're using Wealthy CRM and the dashboards that they have. Just have a place that you track, that's broadcasted for everybody. That's the most important thing. But to answer your question, it's Plecto. It integrates with Go High Level. So you can do all the same stuff. And this is where, this data, this is Plecto. Basically what it is it integrates with a ton of different softwares and it routes it all into one. So for example, these numbers are coming in from Facebook. So it pulls from Facebook. This pulls from Stripe. This pulls from these numbers pull from Go High Level, so it pulls a ton of different data into one spot, if that makes sense. What else? I saw someone else with a hand up. Cool. Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
Sorry, each of the meetings, do you have a meeting structure in regards to, you've got to ask different questions to your marketing team, your sales team, do you have a structure? If you do, are you presenting it to the team so they know what information you need to present to you on a weekly basis?
Yeah, great question. So and Ryan talked about the Google Doc, right? And this is actually here. I'm going to answer your question right after I go through project management because it's going to align really well with what you just mentioned. So simplicity is key. Like I said, the best project management tool, the best CRM is the one that you use consistently. So we track initiatives just using a shared Google Doc. We've tried Asana, we've tried ClickUp, we've tried all these different things, but what happens is it's very difficult to get an entrepreneurial-minded person like Ryan to be organized and to like go in and track tasks and add new tasks and stuff. So what we did, we're just like, hey, let's keep it super simple. Here's a Google Doc. We fill it out. So the way it works is Ryan will go and fill out his initiatives, and I'm going to fill out my initiatives. And then, depending on the meeting, I'll use our Kingdom meeting for an example. Then we send it to Chris. Chris is the leader of Wealthy Kingdom. And I say, hey, add whatever you need to add ahead of the meeting. And then so everybody in the leadership team has seen what our initiatives are. Then we sit down with everybody all at once, and we go through it. Additionally, depending on what my goal is for that meeting, right? For example, when I look at when I'm looking at home run offer, I was setting in new expectations for them. I sent out the expectations first. Hey guys, we're going to meet about this on Monday. Review it. We're going to talk about it. Confirm that you read it, right? So that way, if it is going to be more of a discussion style meeting, yes, I am preparing them with the information ahead of time. It just depends on what kind of meeting I'm having. So again, the team's going to constantly look at things, check off each task, and we make sure that these tasks are assigned. So what the Google Doc looks like is when we come in with the Google Doc, each person has like their little name next to it. And then the following week, we color code it in green. If it got done, red if it didn't get done, right? So it's all one consistent Google Doc, and we can see what tasks still need to be finished. So by the end of the meeting, in that Google Doc, each task should have someone's name next to it who's going to achieve that goal and that target. Make sense? Cool. Yeah, avoid complexity. Like, money is lost in complexity. Everyone wants to sell you the latest project management tool, the latest thing here, there, like that's going to make you way more effective, the latest AI thing. I know we've been talking a lot about AI, but at the end of the day, just do something, stick to it, and it's going to make you extremely effective as long as you're executing. Right, so then data, decision making, we just talked about some of the dashboards, but people lie, numbers don't, right? And so especially in this room, your business is not unique. A lot of people think about, hey, like, oh, like I have these problems. Only I struggle with this. No, every business is exactly the same as long as you know your numbers, and especially in this room. All of us are real estate investors. All of us have the same benchmarks and things. We know what a good cost per lead is. We know what a good cost per contract is. We know what a good wholesale fee is. So your business is not unique. There are clear standards, like I mentioned, that everybody should be hitting. And here's an example that we had as far as like our numbers. Recently, our home run offer team, they were complaining. They're saying, we're getting a lot of spam leads. And we have a spam lead KPI. We know how many, like we know on average how many leads might come in as somebody who hates Ryan and says Ryan Pineda sucks or something along those lines. And what we found was our spam lead KPI was actually within where it's supposed to be. The problem was we weren't spending enough. So we realized that the sales team was only getting like 1 to 2 leads a day. So it's really easy to feel like there's a lot of spam leads coming in if there's only 1 lead that comes in today and it's a spam lead. So they're reporting that, hey, there's way more spam leads, but in reality, we just needed to up the ad spend. So once we up the ad spend, it resolved the issue, everybody's happy again. But if I would have listened to just what the sales team said, then I would have been trying to solve a problem that wasn't actually there, right? So numbers are always going to reveal the truth. Always double check your data across multiple sources if you can. I know I've said that before, but it's super important. So then jumping into the next part of my week essentially is leadership development. So I think I'm a pretty empathetic person. I think I communicate fairly well. And then, so Gary talked about Frick yesterday, right? So the guy, like the COO who like got shot, took the gun, smacked somebody with it. I'm not going to do that. I still hold the team accountable, but what I've always found is if you set clear expectations from the beginning, it's way easier to hold them accountable down the road. If I tell you what the rules of the game are and how to play, now it's up to you to go execute. And it's a lot easier, to use the sports analogy, for me to throw a flag or a red card because we have already established the rules of the game. Good leadership and micromanagement look very similar, but if you set the expectation early on, it's going to be way easier for you to hold the team accountable. And if they know I'm on their side, we both, this is a sales and negotiation thing, we're both on the same side trying to tackle a problem together, as opposed to me versus you in that process, right? So again, you can be relentless with a smile, right? Like I can come and I can be very serious with you and know like what our targets are without having to, beat you with a gun. Again, with a lot of our team, because I'm so busy, a lot of my time spent with like informal check-ins with leaders. So I do have our scheduled meetings, but because Ryan doesn't have time to check in with like our sales team or specific people, I just come, hang out, and just chat, figure out what's going on in their business or with their tasks to make sure that we're successful. Cool. And a lot of my job is it's really just I'm a therapist at the end of the day. People have problems, especially salespeople. They're emotional. I'm not getting leads. man, like XYZ, whatever, and my job's just to listen and get the most out of them. Because talent is going to be the most expensive thing in your business. Your payroll is the most expensive thing. And I think Dave talked about it. A couple other people talked about it, where if you're not feeling your best, you're not going to show up the best. So think about the same thing for your employees. So my job is to keep them happy, to make sure that I'm going to get the most out of them and their team. And then recruiting and talent management. That's the next piece. I do all the recruiting because, like I said, payroll is your biggest expense. Not only are you missing out on the salary that you're paying, it's also the opportunity cost. It's all the leads that I wasted. It's all the inefficiencies that you were doing while I had you in the role. So I manage all the recruiting for every single person that comes in. I'm the only one that handles it A to Z. And I've shown this at a couple other masterminds, but I'll really quickly break down like our recruiting process. Number one, predictive index. All you guys get access to the predictive index. You should take it. Best assessment out there. If they don't align with like their personality with the predictive index that fits within those job descriptions, I don't hire them. Like they don't even get a call back. So number one, predictive index. Then I do a phone interview, just discuss goals, comp, expectations. I like to outline comp right away. And then our skills assessment. So in sales, I'm just gonna give them a sales script. We go through it together and like it's a mock call, right? If it's a admin, I'm gonna give them data to organize. If it's a marketing person, I'm gonna give them like, hey, how would you market my business? Give me a mock-up of what a landing page looks like. Give me 3 emails that are gonna match like our tone, our voice, etc. This, and like everything's important, but the skills assessment and the predictive index are going to save you so much time if you set that up properly. Because the predictive index tells you whether or not the person's gonna be fulfilled in their role, meaning they're gonna be willing to do it for a long term. Doesn't mean they're incapable, but they won't enjoy it and they won't be fulfilled. The skills assessment lets me know if you can do the job. This is what saves you from hiring your brother-in-law or your best friend, and then now you got to fire somebody that you don't like, or that you don't want to fire, right? So make sure that you go through that. Then I do an in-person interview, etc. Next, problem solving, innovation, and then with this, it allows me to work on the business and not necessarily in the business, right? Ryan has his time to think strategically about like the entire business picture, but I usually have like 3 or 4 different problems that like aren't at his pay grade that I have to go solve, right? Like, so that way he can go focus on like the bigger stuff, like, hey, what speakers are we gonna get for WealthCon, et cetera. He can't think about those things if he's stuck thinking about, hey, how do I make our automations better? How do I get more leads to the sales team or get the sales team to close a little bit more? Those types of things. So those are the things that I'm working on strategically. Number one, this is just my framework for how I solve problems. First is faith in God. Like I know the answer is gonna reveal itself. I just gotta sit through, I gotta wait, I gotta figure out what is actually gonna emerge from this problem. Like I just know the problem's gonna get solved eventually. Focus, like this is the biggest thing with business. I'm sure all you guys know. There are 100 problems that you could solve today in your company. Like there's always something broken or always something that can be better. You have to think about what is the right problem to solve, not just the immediate one that's in your face. And usually for everyone in this room, the simplest answer is it making me more money? Like that is the only thing that you need to ask. If there's a problem that comes up, is solving this problem gonna make me more money? That's it. That's the lens that I look at everything through. So if it isn't, it can wait. Or I'll delegate to somebody else that it's not necessarily a big problem. And then metrics, like I said, if you know your numbers, you can solve any problem in your business. But if you don't know your numbers, you might be working on the wrong thing in your business, and it's not gonna get the result that you want. And then most importantly is communication. I am communicating with the people who are actually encountering the problem. There have been many times early on in my career where I would think there's a problem, go solve it, and then I realize that it's not actually a problem to the team that it's working on. Or even worse, I come in and I solve a problem, and they're like, yo, I liked it better the way it was. And now you look like the dumb boss, basically, who comes in and throws a wrench in everything, and it would have been better if I would have just left them alone. So make sure that you're communicating with the key stakeholders in your business that are actually doing the thing that you're trying to fix. And then, like I said, don't solve people's problems before you understand the perspective. It's like if you went to a doctor and you're like, oh, my knee hurts, and they just prescribe you with something. Like you got to like ask more questions before you go give them a solution. So last is work-life balance, and we've talked about this a lot. But again, we're home by 5:30 every single day, unless we're doing one of these. Like I'm at home, and the reason is because like we talked about it. Working long hours isn't a flex. It just means you're inefficient with your time. So if you are working super late, and again, there are times that require you to hunker down and really work hard, but it should not be the norm. There's no point. And then when you have a deadline, you make it happen. So if you know every day you're going to have to be done at a certain time, so that way you can go be present with your family, go hang out, play golf, whatever your thing is, things get done. So these are the different types of COOs for as you guys grow and want to looking into hiring one or what you want to embody in your company, right? So this is one thing to note too. There are different COOs based on where you're at in your business. And another thing that like sparked my thought was when I was doing my podcast with Daniel, a lot of people are like, oh, I need to get me a you, or I need to get me a Javi, right? Or I need to get me like somebody to like be my COO. Start small. Hire an ops coordinator. Like you don't need to give somebody a crazy title right off the jump, and then you're overpaying somebody and you don't even know if it's going to work, right? I started as a sales manager here, and then I slowly worked my way up. Ryan and I didn't even think about being the COO or anything. It was just start as an ops coordinator, start as some management type level, and then see them work their way up. It's going to be way better. All of our best employees have been people who have worked their way up within the company. Every time that I have given a big salary out, it hasn't worked. Like I've given out a big salary, and I will say like our businesses are a little unique. We do a lot of different kind of stuff, and it kind of changes, so you do need someone who's dynamic. But every time we've given out a big salary, it doesn't work. So, and I keep on having a lot of thoughts. So here's the next one. There's going to be different COOs for different times in your business, right? There may be a day, I hope it's not anytime soon, Ryan, but there may be a day where I'm not the best COO for the company, right? And so you as a business owner have to understand, like, where am I, what season am I in, and what type of person do I need in this seat? And that doesn't necessarily mean that like you have to fire them if they're not the right person. There may be a better spot in the company for them. And here, perfect example is when I did move into the COO seat, Noelle, Ryan's sister, was actually the COO at the time when we shifted. But we realized she was doing a lot more like CFO, like financial things, than actual like COO driving the business forward type of tasks. So she didn't get fired. She just moved to a better role for her and a better title, which was CFO. Right? So there are different times and different seasons for the people that you're working with. So number one is the executor, somebody who's focused on internal activities, prioritizing tasks, etc. Next is somebody who's going to bring change. So they're going to lead strategic initiatives, turn things around. So if your business is failing and you need somebody new, that's who you're going to be working with. Someone, and this we don't really have this in our organization, but somebody who's more experienced than you. That happens a lot as you guys grow. You need to have somebody that knows where you've been, so you're going to bring somebody in to handle those ops. And then the other half is somebody who complements you as your personality, and then just cleaning up the operational challenges. This is where like the visionary and the integrator, that kind of trope comes into play. Did you guys take pictures? All right. And then, so what to look for in a COO? This is just balanced leadership, somebody who can manage the operational tasks while being empathetic and being able to focus on the team growth. The more that I'm in this role, the less I realize, like, the numbers matter, but it's really about how you interact with the people to help them be more effective. Like, that is really what my job, if I can boil it down, the majority of my job is. Like, knowing that there are problems, but working with the people to help them be effective in solving them. Right? And that's where the numbers come in, but the soft skills are the most important. Data-driven decision maker, again, they should be able to simplify the systems, not complicate them. The ability to make things very simple for your team, super important. And then they're a strong communicator, and they're a recruiting expert. And then, of course, they're a problem solver. All right, so I'll let you guys take those pictures. And now Q&A. Got a little bit of time. So we can talk about this, talk about numbers, talk about whatever. Floor is yours. Yeah. This one? Okay.
How much time in between, like, knowing when to let someone go or change their role or position?
Cool. So the question was, how much time am I going to give somebody before I either change their role, let them go, give them a new position? It's based on their salary. The bigger the salary, the shorter the leash I have on that type of person. Right? Additionally, it's also like what level of training and seniority do they have when they come on board, right? With a salesperson, I'm going to be sitting with them like daily, making sure that they're going to be effective, right? So I'm going to give them a little bit, slightly longer leash, but if I know somebody isn't a culture fit from the jump, I'm letting them go. They shouldn't have even made it in, but let's say they lie, whatever. We've fired people within 2 weeks in the past, right? So 1, it depends on their salary. 2, it depends on their role and the level of training is number 3. So that's kind of like my framework there.
2 questions. What's a good PI profile for a COO, and then what's your PI profile?
Yep. So the good PI profiles, it's a persuader, captain, and I think venturer are the top 3, and then I think Mavericks do okay too. I'm a captain. So pretty straightforward on what that implies. Ryan gives the direction, I steer the ship. But yeah, so persuader and captain off the top of my head, and I know there's a third one. It might be Maverick. Cool. What else?
My COO is texting me because he's watching from home. He said, can you ask what their performance improvement plan looks like and time given for improvement before hire?
Yep. Again, it comes back to what the role is, but it typically performance improvement plans come for salespeople specifically, or typically, right? And it's going to vary based on the role and the person. So because it's going to be different, right? So some person might not be making enough dials, or they might not have like the effort that is needed in order to get the thing done, or other people might lack the skill. So my PIP or my performance plan is going to vary based on like what I've diagnosed the problem to be, and it's going to be like I'm going to need to see instant results, especially if it's an effort thing, right? But even if it's a skill thing, if their effort drops, then that's a problem too, right? So it's going to be a mix of, are you showing up and are you doing the task that I need you to do every single day? That's number 1. So I'm going to set a clear number. So we'll use sales for example. You're going to need to make 100 dials, have a minimum of 2 hours on the phone every day. That's step 1. Step 2 is I'm going to need to see 1 contract next week. If we don't, then we have to talk again. And then step 3 is at the end of the month, you should have X amount of revenue, right? So I'm going to need daily metrics, a weekly, and then a month. And then we're going to circle back typically in 2 weeks just to like check in, but I'll typically at the most give them a month.
What are your KPIs?
My KPIs, so my KPIs, I focus a lot on the sales side. So really and it changes, but right now it's how much revenue is coming in, what's our lead flow, and like what is like our individual cost per lead. Like I look at the cost per lead and I look at our revenue. That's it. Like the way I'm financially incentivized is based on revenue as well. So that's a good piece for all you guys who are looking eventually to hire a COO. Obviously you want to think about what you want to incentivize them with, but the reason why I'm still motivated to keep working here, 1, the mission, 2 is because my compensation is aligned with revenue. So my goal is to grow this as big as possible. Cool.
What would you say the most important task for like an operations manager, like coming in like smaller scale?
I think for a lot of you, what they should be focused on are the details that you guys aren't thinking about. And I know it's a broad answer, but the way I would look at it is, can you get them to focus on like just collecting the data and getting the numbers? Because most of you don't know your numbers in this room. So that would be the first thing that I would focus on, is getting somebody who can collect all the information, put it together, and show it to you, so that way you can make good decisions. So that would be like step 1 in my process. Additionally, if you're on the real estate side, getting somebody to like be a TC and manage all that kind of back end stuff, sending out contracts, talking to the seller, all that would be the next thing that I would have them do as well. So I'd have them collect as much data as possible so that way you can go make your right decisions and then get as much admin and just email management, all that dumb stuff off your plate. Right? Those would be the first things that I would do if you're making your first hire.
You talk about soft skills being a huge portion of this. How do you improve on your soft skills personally? What resources do you use to kind of make sure that, hey, I'm improving on those soft skills?
That's a good question. So he asked, like, how do you improve on your soft skills? I think it comes back to just doing it and communicating on a daily basis. So going through and like working the muscle when you're running the meetings, asking those questions, having weekly or daily calls with your team or meetings with your team, just getting their feedback and understanding how, like, okay, am I actively listening? Am I really hearing their problem, or am I just waiting to like give my solution to their situation, right? One thing that I would not do well, like in the beginning, I would make it very clear that I wasn't even listening to the team, and I was already my mind was already made. So at a minimum, now I'm doing my best to like listen and be empathetic, even if I know I'm not going to do the thing that they want me to do, right? So at a minimum, I'm still taking in the information and making them feel heard, and then articulating why. And this is the part that most people don't do. They don't articulate the why behind the decision, and I think that's what's really helped me with like I talked about earlier. We make so many changes all the time to the offer, to the things, to make it better. And previously, I wouldn't give them the why behind it. So I would just tell them, hey, this is what we're doing, go do it. So now if I explain and give them the full picture, they're a lot more inclined to want to get behind that situation. Additionally, into like just practical advice, how to win friends and influence people. I read that very early on, and I think that was a really helpful book in going through it. There's another book called The Power of Nice, which was pretty good. It's super short, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those two, and then understanding sales, like consultative selling, has helped, because once you understand sales, then now I can sell ideas. I can sell like the entire vision of the company. Ryan gives the big picture, but it's my job to keep them like incentivized and motivated throughout that time. So if you get good at sales, like actual consultative selling, you're going to get good at managing people and helping them get the most out of them. What else we got? We have 4. So we have 2 that just handle Las Vegas and 2 that are nationwide. And that's it, guys. And like I showed you, we have just under 200,000 that's closed in escrow. We should have more. So that's all you need, like 4 people to go get $200,000. So and it should be more, honestly. I know Ryan put out the KPIs. Our target's $500K a month moving forward. So no. HRO is actually like our longest standing sales team. Michael Smith, I think, he's been here longer than me. I think he's been here for about 4, 5, 6 years. Stevenson, Ryan, how long has Stevenson been here?
Been here 7 years.
Yeah, so Mike, yep.
Stevenson was at my very first event back in 2018. I hired him in 2020.
And so Smith's been here for like 6, right? 5, 6? 2018. Kayla's been here since 2020, I think. And Monty's been here since 2019, I believe. So yeah, everybody, like, those guys are lifers. They've been here for a while. Yeah, Daryl?
So we got to hear from those guys, because that's kind of impossible to have sales guys so long.
Uh-huh.
I'd love to hear, like, even culture. I've never heard, like, sales guys, acquisition, realtors, even up maximum 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
They get burnt out, so I'd love to hear how. How is that possible?
Well, number one of the guys went to federal prison, so he can't get another job anywhere else. I'm just kidding. But no, I think with culture, we talked about the emotional paycheck. People love the vision, love the mission. Additionally, when things were tougher, last 2 years, Ryan kept spending money on marketing. They weren't going to get fresh leads anywhere else. And the alternative was, hey, I'm going to go do it on my own. and you go do it on your own, and you're not going to go succeed. We've had a couple people who like worked here, tried to go do it on their own afterwards, and they didn't achieve the same level of success. So number one, when your emotional paycheck is full. Number two, when you continue to supply a sales team with the best leads there are, then where else am I going to go, right? What other shop is doing what we're doing? And then the third one is, like Ryan mentioned, the guy who's been here the longest was he came to Ryan's first event. I came here as a student. Some of our best employees came as students or were in this ecosystem, loved it, and then came in and decided to come work with Ryan, right? So, and this is where personal brand is very important. We're putting out content and creating your tribe. I think that was Jabin yesterday talking about that. When you create your tribe, people are going to stick with you longer because they like who they work with. Like Ryan said, they're spending 8 hours a day with you. So if they like you and that you've done the work to number one, make it financially profitable and incentivized for them, then it's going to make sense for them to stay long term. If they like you and they're not going to get a better deal anywhere else, like why else would you leave, right? And that's what we're banking on all you guys too. You like us, and then hopefully you're getting the best deal possible with the leads and everything else. No contract, why would you leave? And then what else?
Regarding like your sales guys' process, are they like strictly sticking to the script, or do you give them autonomy to kind of stay within those parameters?
Very good question. So he asked, with our sales team, are we having them stick to the script, or are we kind of letting them do their own thing? It is based on their performance and their seniority, right? With somebody like with our HRO sales team, because they've been here so long, I look at sales as a framework. These are the 5 things that you're going to have to cover on every single sales call. How you do it and when you do it, I don't care. I just need to know, hey, what do they want for the home? Bedrooms, bathrooms, liens, et cetera, right? The certain qualification things that have to be covered on every single call. How you do it, I don't care. Now, on the flip side, I have somebody like our appointment setters at Wealthy Investor. These guys and girls are brand new, right? Like, I am going to have you stick to the script until you show me that you can go off, right? The way I look at it, it's like a really good actor. A really good actor is able to be really good because they know the script inside and out. They know the other person's lines. Now they can put their own spin on it, right? So that's the way I look at sales. Cool. I got time for like one more. Sweet. Well, I hope that was valuable, guys. And next steps, we're going to do what a lot of people really like as their favorite part of the mastermind. We're going to get into small groups. So what this is going to look like are I'm going to put this half of the room. Your revenue is going to be $250,000 and below, so $250,000 and below. This half of the room is going to be $250,000 and above. We'll probably have 2 groups of each. So I'll have a group in the front and a group in the back. But what we'll do is, pack your stuff up. We're going to move, and then each person's going to have, I'd love somebody to be like a timer. Each person will have like 8 minutes per person to share what's going on in your business, the challenges that you're running into, and how you can get help. Make sense? All right, ready, break.